what I wanted to do this show today was to appeal to those people in the audience who happen to be quote unquote humanists or secular humanists and don't realize it yet. In other words, we're presenting something that says, are you in fact not where you belong when you're in the Pentecostal church or something? Now, all the principles that are here that I read could equally be said about a lot of religious people. Okay, so the difference between humanism originally began historically by a man named Erasmus in the Reformation days, was religious humanism. That is to say, it approached it with humans as the center of the question, but from a religious, with a God-involved aspect. Right. The difference between that and secular humanism is that the same principles are there, but they're approached without starting with a divine subject matter. However, you made a very good point when you talked about gods. Christians were considered atheists in the early years of the Roman Empire for the simple reason that out of the 2,000 gods that the Romans had, Christians only accepted one. Well, you're almost an atheist.
Well, they didn't even accept any of those. They had their own.
They had their own, right. So they were an atheist as far as... However, my approach to a lot of these questions is by understanding rather than by proving one thing or another. Okay?
All right.
If I say to somebody, and I'm going to ask you this question and respond without any deep philosophical considerations, does humor exist?
Humor?
Does humor exist?
You mean things that make us laugh?
Is that what humor is?
That would be my understanding. You told me not to get deeply philosophical. I would say yes, there are funny things.
They are funny things?
Yes.
So are they godly things?
I don't see any connection.
Okay, the difference is, the connection is that humor is not something that you can point to and see. It's a characteristic of human. Humans are the only people who are funny. Monkeys can be funny to humans, but to themselves they're not. They don't have. What matters is whether you have a sense of humor or not whether humor exists. You follow me? So if a person says to me, "I believe in humor," I'm going to say, "Yeah, but that's not funny." Okay.
All right.
Okay. What matters is, do you have a sense of humor? Now, when it comes to God, I have the same kind of attitude. What matters to me is not whether somebody believes in God, because they're usually going to whack you when you're not looking. What matters is, are they godly? Okay, are they godly? Most of the people who came down here to New Orleans after the storm to help us out were quote-unquote godly people. That is, they affirmed and believed in God, and they explained their behavior by saying, these are my beliefs which are godly in nature.
Primarily Christian, wouldn't you say? They came
primarily
here,
a lot of them
because
Christian.
they were doing unto others.
Exactly. Also, most of the people that ran the autos de fe and killed Jews and humanists and witches and so forth were also godly people. They were acting because God told them to behave a certain way. Now, what they don't want to acknowledge, these people, is that God has a good side and a bad side historically. Okay. If you read the Bible,
God can punish you for bad behavior.
God's going to punish you. He's not going to punish me because He's a friend of mine. He respects me. He likes me. He likes to have intelligent company. Okay. Now, the affirmations that are listed here, the 21, right?
Yes.
The Bible got by with 10 commandments. We have to have 21 affirmations. What's going on here?
Well, listen, I didn't write it, but since you mentioned them, I noticed the one we were talking about says we are committed to, and the next one says we deplore. But as I read down, I see many of them that say we believe. Now, what does it mean? What does it mean for we who support reason and science to say we believe?
Okay.
What does that mean?
Okay. That's a very good question. What does it mean when anybody says, I believe? People ask, do you believe in evolution? Well, it depends on what you mean by believe, aside from what you mean by evolution, okay? Do you believe in God? It depends upon what you mean by God, aside from what you may mean by believe. When somebody says, I believe in something, they're making one of two kinds of statements. One is an affirmation of something that they can write down. The other is, this explains something about me. I believe in being kind to my fellow man is not something you can prove or disprove. It's something you can watch and see whether you act upon. It's not true or false. It's accurate or inaccurate.
Could you substitute something for the word believe to describe what you just said. I believe in being kind to my fellow man.
We think the best course of action is
based upon my experience or human experience.
What I'm doing here.
So then you could eliminate the word believe, couldn't you?
You could, but that just translates. That just tells you what the word means by translating, which is what any language means. You can translate it into some other word.
Well, but when people, for instance, who want to oppose atheism, and they say, "How can you don't believe in God?" What does that believe mean there?
You have to ask them. What do you mean? It's not that you believe something positive here. You're denying something that they claim to believe.
So they say, you believe there is no God, and I believe there is. What is the difference?
Then you have to define. That's a matter of language.
Well,
Dave?
I think that comes down to pure faith on one side in the definition of belief. That is, accepting something with no evidence for it, and then there's statements of belief like are here in the Affirmations of Humanism. We believe in the cultivation of moral excellence. That's one of the
that tells us something about us.
And what does the believe word there mean?
I think that means that we know from previous experience. We have seen the results of this in the past, and so
that is why we accept it.
That's right.
I wonder why in these affirmations they don't say we accept instead of saying we believe. I find that curious. Well, all right. I would like to go, because there are lots of affirmations here. I'd like to pick another one, and why don't we?
Well, I think we're still involved in the nutshell here. Do you believe? Because it's a matter of understanding how language is used. For example, do you believe that there is a Paris, France?
Without having been there, you mean? If I had been there, it's no longer a belief. It's a fact, a knowledge.
No, it's not a fact. It's an experience. Is it not?
Well, we as humans, all we can do is experience.
That's right. Now, don't Christians say that they experience God? They do say that.
I think a lot of them say that.
A lot of them do.
Right.
And can you deny that that's what they experience?
Oh, I would never say that you didn't talk to God or that God didn't talk to you.
I didn't say talk. I said experience God.
If someone says, I have experienced God in my life, I would not say to them, no, you haven't. I would say to someone else, no, they haven't.
What I would say to them is, what do you mean? What do you mean when you say that? It may be something quite valid for them. I've experienced God. That's what I thought was going on. I've experienced true love several times. In fact, I did last Wednesday night.
Well, there's an analogy there, and both of those are I think based in human emotion.
They're based in human experience, which is strongly emotional in content.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I don't have to believe in this table because I can feel. Is this a table? Because I see, that's two questions. I experience something. Whether it is a table or not is a matter of definition.
Well, that love that you experienced last Wednesday or whenever it was.
Well, maybe it was Thursday.
Is it still there, or did it just go with the wind?
Now you're talking about your kind of love, Harry.
I don't know what you were
gone with the wind. But people's emotions, people's experiences of love, of true love, psychological explanations of it.
Of course.
Okay? People's experience of God, true God, psychological explanations,
of course,
can be accurate. They're not necessarily true. I mean, they describe what's going on with them.
I do not deny that this is what they themselves take to be true and factual. But that doesn't mean that it is because because they sense it. Any
more than being in Paris proves that there is a Paris.
There. Well,